The stars of Velrath 9 shimmered like molten glass against the blackness of space. The human diplomatic fleet had been stationed there for almost 2 weeks, orbiting above the shining desert world. To the humans, it was a new opportunity, a fragile bridge between Earth and one of the most powerful alien empires in the sector. To the Velrath, it was a test of whether humans were worthy of their trust. Among the crew of the Earthship Aegis Dawn, one man often stood out for all the wrong reasons. Ethan Cole, a mechanical engineer, was known for fixing impossible problems and for saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. His friends said he had a laughing heart, which meant he could find humor in almost any situation. But sometimes that same humor led him into trouble. Tonight, the humans were invited to a Velrath honor ceremony, held on the upper deck of their massive flagship, the Tereka Val. The air inside the alien hall shimmered faintly from the energy fields that kept the environment stable. Blue light glowed along the ceiling, and the Velrath warriors stood tall in rows, their heavy ceremonial armor shining like liquid metal. Each piece was carved with ancient symbols, marks of their family, their victories, and their vows. The humans, by contrast, wore simple dark uniforms. They looked small and light among the armored giants. Ethan followed his team, trying not to stare too much at the towering warriors. Each one was nearly twice his height, with strong insect-like features hidden behind curved helmets. The armor made them look like living statues. Only their leader, Commander Circa Varen, stood out. Her armor was silver-white, smooth and flawless, with streaks of blue light running through it like veins. She stood near the front, her stance proud but calm. Circa was famous even among her own kind, a commander who had fought in 7 campaigns and never retreated once. Her presence filled the hall like thunder without sound. When she moved, everyone paid attention. The ceremony began with the sound of drums, deep, steady, echoing through the metal walls. The Velrath chanted in their language, their voices rising and falling like waves. Then the humans were invited to speak. Ambassador Reyes gave a short but respectful speech about unity, peace, and the strength of friendship between 2 distant worlds. After the formalities, food and drinks were offered. The atmosphere relaxed. The Velrath didn't eat as humans did. Instead, they shared glowing energy orbs that symbolized vitality. The humans had their own ration bars and beverages. It was an odd mix, but it worked. Ethan stayed close to the human delegation at first, but his curiosity pulled him toward the Velrath engineers who maintained the great ship. They were fascinated by human tools, small, flexible, and built for improvisation. One of them, a tall warrior named Cartel, handed Ethan a crystal spanner and asked how he would use it on a power core. Ethan smiled and started explaining. Soon a few Velrath warriors gathered around, watching as the human demonstrated a quicker, more efficient repair method. He laughed, joked, and even teased them a little when their armor joints got in the way of delicate work. Surprisingly, they didn't take offense. They found it amusing. The sound of their laughter was deep and rumbling like distant thunder. The noise drew the attention of Commander Circa. She walked over, tall and silent, her silver armor catching the light. The Velrath around Ethan immediately straightened. "Engineer Ethan Cole," she said in her precise, calm tone. "You seem comfortable among my warriors?" Ethan froze. He hadn't realized she'd been watching. Yes, Commander. Just showing them a few tricks from Earth. They're quick learners." Her expression was unreadable behind the helmet. "You speak boldly for one so unarmored." He chuckled, trying to lighten the tension. "Well, Commander, armor might make you look strong, but it slows you down, doesn't it? Must be hard to relax in all that metal. If I wore that thing, I'd never take it off unless someone asked nicely." The Velrath around him went silent. Every glowing eye turned toward him. The hall seemed to stop breathing. Circa tilted her head slightly. "Are you requesting that I remove my armor, human?" Ethan blinked. "Wait, what?" No, I was just joking, just a figure of speech." Her voice deepened slightly. "Among my people, to ask a warrior to remove their armor is to challenge their honor. Only those who seek truth or kinship make such a request." He tried to smile, feeling his throat tighten. Well, that wasn't what I meant. Just trying to be friendly." But Circa took a slow step forward. The metallic plates of her armor shifted, glowing brighter. The sound of the seals unlocking filled the hall. One by one, the energy clamps disengaged. The upper plates slid apart with a hiss of air. The Velrath warriors around her bowed slightly, a sign of respect or perhaps anticipation. "Commander, please," Ambassador Reyes began, alarmed, but Circa raised one hand. "This human has spoken. Let the truth be seen." Ethan raised his palms. "It was a joke, I swear." "Please don't." She unlatched another piece of her armor. Light spilled from the seams like mist. Her movement was steady, ceremonial. To her, this wasn't an act of defiance. It was tradition, a ritual. The silence was overwhelming. Even the air hummed. Ethan could feel his pulse in his ears. He stepped forward carefully. "Commander Circa, I didn't mean disrespect. Humans, we sometimes speak lightly. Words don't always carry deep meaning for us." Her glowing eyes met his through the helmet visor. "Then perhaps you should learn the meaning your words may carry in another tongue." The last of the armor plates clicked into place, still attached, but loosened. She stopped there, not fully removing it, perhaps out of consideration for the misunderstanding. The tension slowly eased, but no one in the hall relaxed completely. Then, after a long pause, Circa said quietly, "A joke among your kind, perhaps. But among mine, it would have bound us to a trial of truth. Remember that, human. Words can forge bonds or break them." Ethan nodded quickly. "Understood, Commander." "It won't happen again." Circa gave a slow nod, then turned away. "See that it doesn't." When she left, the Velrath warriors exchanged murmurs. Some seemed amused, others curious. Ethan exhaled deeply and ran a hand through his hair. The humans around him looked pale. "Nice job," one of his crewmates whispered. "You almost caused an interspecies duel," Ethan sighed. "I was just trying to be friendly. Guess humor doesn't translate too well out here." Yet as the ceremony ended and the humans prepared to leave, Ethan felt the weight of Circa's words linger in his mind. To the Velrath, honor was not a costume, it was part of who they were. And somewhere deep down, he wondered if he had just made a mistake he wouldn't easily forget. As he looked back one last time, Circa stood near the balcony, watching the stars. Even from afar, he could sense her sharp gaze. Her armor gleamed faintly under the blue light. But for the first time, Ethan thought he saw something beneath that metal shell. Curiosity. A connection had been made, though neither of them fully understood it yet. And so began the strange bond between a joking human and a warrior, who took words as seriously as oaths. The story of Ethan Cole and Commander Circa Varen, born not from battle but from a single playful sentence, was only beginning. The next morning, the human crew of Aegis Dawn woke up to an unusual message. A formal signal from the Velrath High Command appeared on their communication screen. It was a clear and direct invitation. Engineer Ethan Cole was to report to the Velrath flagship, Terekeval, for a continuation of the trial of truth. Captain Mason of the Aegis Dawn frowned as he read the message twice. "Trial of truth?" he muttered. "What in the world did you do, Cole?" Ethan sat nervously across from him, rubbing the back of his neck. "I swear, Captain, I didn't do anything. It was just a joke, one sentence. I didn't know they took words so seriously." Ambassador Reyes sighed, folding her arms. "Among the Velrath, a spoken word can carry ritual meaning. You might have triggered one of their customs. Refusing now could be seen as disrespect." Ethan groaned softly. "So if I go, I look like an idiot. If I don't, I insult an entire species." "Exactly," the ambassador said grimly. "And Commander Circa personally requested your presence." That last sentence hit Ethan like a weight. The tall, silver-armored commander haunted his memory since last night. Her glowing blue eyes, calm yet sharp, had looked straight through him. Even now he wasn't sure whether she was angry, amused, or both. An hour later, he stood in front of the airlock as the small shuttle prepared to carry him back to the Velrath flagship. The others wished him luck, but most of them avoided eye contact. No one wanted to be in his place. "Try not to say anything funny this time," his friend Harper whispered with a half-smile. Ethan managed a nervous grin. "Trust me, I've retired from comedy." The shuttle left the Aegis Dawn and entered the docking bay of the Terekeval. As the ramp lowered, the familiar blue glow filled his vision again. Waiting for him at the entrance were two Velrath guards, both fully armored. They stood straight and silent like living statues. Without a word, they gestured for him to follow. Ethan walked between them, his boots echoing softly against the metallic floor. The corridors of the Velrath ship were vast and decorated with glowing lines that pulsed faintly like veins of energy. Symbols were etched into the walls, each one telling stories of battles and ancestors. The air was cool, but the pressure made him feel like he was walking into something heavy, something ancient. Finally, the guards stopped before a large chamber. The door slid open with a deep hum. Inside stood Commander Circa Varen. Her silver armor gleamed faintly under the soft blue light. This time her helmet was off, revealing her face, strong, calm, and strangely graceful. Her eyes were bright and intelligent, their glow softer than before. She looked at him not with hostility, but with an expression that seemed thoughtful. "Engineer Ethan Cole," she said in her composed voice. "You came." Ethan gave a small nod. "Yes, Commander. I figured it was better than running away." A flicker of something, amusement perhaps, passed through her eyes. Running would have been unwise. My people might have seen it as a rejection of honor. He sighed. "Yeah, I'm starting to understand that." She gestured for him to step forward. "You spoke bold words before witnesses. Among the Velrath, such words are taken seriously. You invited me to remove my armor. That is not a light request." Ethan quickly raised his hands. "I didn't mean it that way, I swear. It was a joke. Humans say such things playfully. We don't always mean them literally." Circa studied him carefully. "To speak without meaning, that is dangerous among my kind. Words are bonds, but I believe you did not know. That is why I called you here, not for punishment but for understanding." Ethan blinked in surprise. "Understanding?" She nodded. "When two species meet, they must learn each other's truths. You will learn ours." He felt his heart pound. "Learn how exactly?" She turned toward the far wall. It opened silently to reveal a wide training arena. The ground shimmered faintly, made of energy-absorbing panels. Several warriors trained there, each one striking with precise, graceful movements. Sparks of light flashed as their practice blades met. Circa looked back at him. "You will observe our ways of honor. You will see why we wear our armor, and why we remove it only in trust." Ethan followed her into the arena, trying not to stare too obviously. Every Velrath warrior moved with discipline and rhythm. Their training looked more like a dance than a fight. Each movement told a story. Each strike was made with purpose. Circa stood beside him. "Armor is not just protection. It is identity. Each mark, each layer holds our memories. To remove it is to show the self beneath the victories and scars. It is the highest form of openness." Ethan nodded slowly, fascinated. "So when I joked about it, you asked for something sacred," she finished gently. "But you did not know. So we teach." A warrior approached, offering Circa a slender staff-like weapon. She took it and turned toward Ethan. "You fix machines, yes? You repair what is broken." He nodded. "That's right. Then today you will repair something here. Follow me." She led him to the side of the arena, where a damaged power node hummed weakly. Its light flickered. "This powers the energy shields of our training hall," Circa explained. "One of our engineers failed to restore it. You will try." Ethan crouched beside the device. The technology was strange, living circuits intertwined with metal. Still, a problem was a problem. He pulled out his small human toolkit, earning a few curious glances from the nearby warriors. As he worked, he spoke softly to himself, tracing the lines of energy. The current's unstable. Power feeds looping. Maybe reroute through here." Circa watched silently. To her, his tools looked fragile, almost childish. Yet his hands were steady and sure. He worked quickly, adjusting connectors, sealing leaks, and syncing the circuits manually. Within minutes, the power core pulsed back to full light. He stood and wiped his hands. "There, should hold." The Velrath warriors murmured among themselves. Even Circa's expression changed slightly. "Impressive. You understood the system faster than many of our own." Ethan shrugged modestly. "Machines speak the same language everywhere. You just have to listen." Circa looked at him for a long moment. "Perhaps you are not as careless as your words suggest." Ethan smiled awkwardly. "I'm learning," she nodded. "Then you will join me tomorrow for another lesson. You will see what it means to face another unarmored." His eyes widened. "Face, as in fight?" "Not fight," she said calmly. "Face. You will see." Before he could ask more, she turned away, signaling that the meeting was over. The guards escorted him back through the long corridors. Inside the shuttle, as it detached from the Tereka Vol, Ethan sat quietly, staring at his hands. What had started as one careless joke was now pulling him into a ritual he barely understood. And yet, deep down, he wasn't afraid. He was curious. When he returned to the Aegis Dawn, Captain Mason was waiting. "Well, you still have your head attached?" "Barely," Ethan said with a weak grin. "Apparently I'm in a lesson program now." "A lesson program?" "Yeah, Commander Circa wants to teach me about their culture. Something about facing each other without armor." Mason raised a brow. "Sounds like a challenge." "Maybe," Ethan said softly. "Or maybe it's a chance to make things right." That night, as the ship drifted in orbit, Ethan couldn't sleep. He kept remembering Circa's calm eyes and her steady voice. There was strength in her that wasn't just physical. It was something older, something made of pride, loyalty, and a kind of honesty humans rarely lived by anymore. He turned on his side, whispering to himself, "A trial of truth, huh? Guess I better learn how to pass it." Outside the viewport, Velrath 9 glowed faintly like a blue jewel. Somewhere down there, the warriors trained, and Commander Circa Varen prepared for the next lesson. Ethan didn't know it yet, but his playful words had opened a path that would change not just his life, but the relationship between their two worlds. For the first time, humanity wasn't just a guest among the stars. It was being tested, and Ethan Cole was right at the center of it. The next day dawned bright above the golden world of Velrath 9. The twin suns cast long shadows across the dunes, and the human ship Aegis Dawn floated quietly in orbit. Inside, Ethan Cole packed his small toolkit and a bottle of water, still unsure what kind of lesson awaited him on the Velrath flagship. Ambassador Reyes stood beside him at the airlock. "You don't have to go alone," she said. Ethan smiled faintly. "If I bring someone else, it might look like I'm afraid." Commander Circa said, "This is about trust. I'll take my chances." When the shuttle reached the Terekaval, 2 guards met him again, their armor glowing faintly under the blue corridor lights. Without a word, they led him down to a large hangar, whose walls opened to the planet below. Warm sunlight streamed through a transparent shield, and for the first time Ethan saw the Velrath world up close. Vast deserts, tall stone spires, and rivers of shining metal that reflected the light like mirrors. Commander Circa Varen waited at the center of the hangar. She wore her full silver armor, but her helmet rested under one arm. Her expression was calm, but her eyes studied Ethan carefully as if measuring his resolve. "You came," she said. "I said I would," Ethan replied. "And I brought tools. I'm better with machines than with swords." A faint smile touched her lips. "Today there will be no weapons. Only truth." She gestured toward a platform where a small craft sat, half buried under sand and dust. Its hull was cracked and a faint hum came from deep within. "This is an old training vessel. Its reactor has become unstable. Before we can return it to the surface, it must be repaired. You will work and I will watch." Ethan set to work immediately. The Velrath machines were beautiful in their complexity, part metal, part living crystal. He slid under the craft, checking the energy lines and breathing in the dry, metallic air. Circa crouched nearby, observing each move in silence. For a long time, the only sound was the hum of his tools. Then Circa spoke. "Human humor is strange," she said. "Why do your people speak words they do not mean?" Ethan smiled under the hull. "Because sometimes laughter is how we deal with fear. Or awkwardness. We make light of things so they feel less heavy." "Even sacred things?" she asked. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But we don't mean disrespect. It's just how we survive." Circa considered that quietly. "The Velrath do not laugh often. We believe silence gives strength, yet your words seem lighter, not weaker." Ethan slid out from under the craft, wiping his hands. "Sometimes being light helps you carry heavy things." She looked at him for a moment, and then said softly, "Perhaps that is your kind strength." Before he could answer, the reactor behind them gave a sharp hiss. The energy field surrounding it flickered, sending ripples of blue light across the floor. Ethan frowned. "That's not good. What is wrong?" Circa asked, already stepping forward. "Power surge. If that reactor overloads, the whole hangar could blow. We need to vent the core." He ran to the control panel, fingers moving quickly. The alien symbols were confusing, but his instincts guided him. Circa watched, tense but silent, as he pulled 2 cables and crossed them. Sparks flew and the hum deepened into a roar. "Cole," she warned. "I know," he muttered. "Just give me—" A blast of light filled the chamber, knocking him backward. The controls smoked. When the glare faded, the reactor still hummed dangerously, but slower now. He coughed, his hands burned but steady. "Okay, stable. For now." Circa helped him up. You risked your life for a machine, Ethan grinned weakly. Well, I'm the one who touched it. Would have been rude to let it explode. Her expression softened. Among my kind, to act without armor is the truest form of courage. You have shown it. He shrugged. Guess that makes us even. But she shook her head. No, this is only the beginning. Later that day, Circa led Ethan to the Velrath training grounds. The arena was an open circle surrounded by tall, glowing pillars. The sand shimmered like glass beneath the suns. Warriors trained in pairs, their armor clashing in rhythmic motion. Each strike, each turn seemed to carry meaning, honor expressed through movement. Circa stopped at the edge. Here we face one another as equals. No rank, no armor. Only truth. She pressed a button on her wrist plate. Slowly, her silver armor folded away piece by piece until she stood in a dark training suit. The surrounding warriors paused, bowing their heads slightly, an unspoken sign of respect. Ethan understood then that removing the armor wasn't about showing weakness. It was about trust. She looked at him. Now you, Ethan hesitated. I don't have armor. Then you are already ready, she said calmly. But to stand here means you face me not as an engineer, but as yourself. He stepped into the circle. The ground felt warm beneath his boots. The air buzzed with energy. Circa circled him slowly, her eyes studying his stance. Why do you think the Velrath wear armor? She asked. To protect yourselves, he answered. She shook her head. No, to remind ourselves of what we carry. Each scar, each memory becomes weight. Without armor, we face the truth of who we are underneath. That is the trial of truth, he nodded. Then what do I have to do? Endure, she said simply. Without warning, she struck, a light, quick motion that caught him off guard. He stumbled backward, barely keeping his balance. Hey, I thought we weren't fighting. This is not battle, she said, striking again, slower this time. It is test. You must hold your ground. He dodged clumsily, sand flying around his boots. The Velrath warriors watching murmured among themselves, amused but curious. Ethan wasn't fast, but he refused to fall. Every time Circa moved forward, he adjusted, learning her rhythm. Minutes turned into half an hour. Sweat dripped from his forehead, his arms ached, but he kept going. Finally, Circa stopped and raised a hand. The arena fell silent. You endure, she said quietly. Even without armor, you do not yield. Why? Ethan breathed hard. Because giving up never fixes anything. She looked at him for a long time, then nodded. That is honor, human. You understand it now, even if you do not name it. The warriors around them tapped their fists to their chests, a Velrath gesture of respect. Ethan blinked, realizing they were honoring him. Circa approached and offered her hand. You may leave the circle, Ethan Cole of Earth. The trial of truth has begun for you. He took her hand, surprised at how steady her grip felt, strong, but not crushing. For the first time, he felt not like an outsider, but a student. As they walked back toward the hangar, Circa spoke again. When I first heard your words, I thought you mocked our ways. Now I see your humor hides courage. He smiled tiredly. And your armor hides kindness. She looked ahead, silent for a moment. Perhaps we both wear too many layers. He chuckled softly. Maybe. They reached the docking bay. The suns were setting beyond the horizon, turning the desert gold and red. Circa stopped at the ramp. Tomorrow we go to the surface, she said. There is a storm coming and our relay tower is failing. You will help repair it. It will be dangerous. Ethan nodded without hesitation. I'll be there. As he boarded the shuttle back to the Aegis Dawn, he looked once more at the towering figure of Commander Circa Varen. For the first time since he had met her, she looked almost human, standing in the fading light without armor. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. His arms ached, his hands were burned, but his mind was alive. He had learned something powerful. That honor wasn't about rank or pride. It was about showing up even when you were scared. It was about standing bare before truth and saying, I'm still here. He thought of Circa's calm eyes, of the respect in her voice. Somewhere between their worlds, a bridge had begun to form. A bridge made not of metal but of understanding. And while Ethan didn't yet know it, that bridge would soon be tested by fire. The winds of Velrath 9 were rising. The twin suns hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the desert spires. Ethan Cole stepped off the shuttle, toolkit in hand, and immediately felt the tension in the air. The storm was coming, but there was something more. A warning signal pulsed through the atmosphere, Urgent and metallic, Circa Varen was already there, her silver armor gleaming faintly in the muted sunlight. Her expression was calm, but her eyes flickered with concern. Around them, Velrath engineers scurried to secure the damaged relay tower that transmitted energy and communications across the region. "Ethan," Circa said, her voice firm, "this tower is our lifeline. If the storm hits while it's unstable, our entire network could collapse. Can you help?" "I can try," he said, tightening the straps on his gloves. He had repaired many machines before, but this one was unlike anything he had seen. A combination of alien energy circuits, living crystals, and sensitive conduits. One wrong move and the tower could overload, or worse. As they approached, a distant rumble shook the ground. Ethan squinted. Dust swirled in the desert wind, but it wasn't natural. Dark shapes were moving fast across the sand. Machines. Old rogue machines from an ancient war. They had been dormant, buried under the sands for centuries, but now, awakened by the approaching storm, they were attacking. "Combat," Circa shouted. Her voice echoed across the dunes. "Protect the tower at all costs." Ethan froze. "I didn't sign up for this." "Then improvise," Circa replied. "That is what humans do best." Without hesitation, she moved forward, leading the Velrath warriors. Her silver armor reflected the sunlight, making her seem almost untouchable. The machines were swift, armed with energy blades and grinding claws, but Circa's warriors met them with unmatched precision. Ethan followed, holding his toolkit like a shield. He realized quickly that repairs and combat would blend into one. Sparks flew as he climbed the side of the tower, rerouting power lines manually to prevent an overload. The machines clawed at the base of the tower, smashing panels and arcs of energy. But Ethan worked tirelessly, his hands blackened with soot and burns. A powerful strike hit nearby, sending a wave of sand and debris over him. He coughed, wiping grit from his eyes. Circa's voice reached him over the chaos. "Ethan, the power node."
"Stabilize it now."
He raced forward, rerouting a damaged conduit while Circa and her warriors fought off the machines. The sand shifted violently under their feet, and lightning from the approaching storm illuminated the battlefield. The wind carried the sound of clashing metal and humming energy. One of the machines struck Circa's armor, forcing her to step back. Ethan's heart raced. The commander, known for never retreating, was forced to react, and she looked at him, her eyes asking a question he couldn't ignore. He sprinted toward her, weaving between the rogue machines. His tools glinted as he worked at lightning speed, connecting energy conduits manually, rerouting power and restarting her armor's core. Sparks flew and his hands burned, but he refused to step back. Circa recovered quickly, her movements precise and deadly. Together, Human and Velrath formed an unlikely partnership. He handled the unstable machinery while she cleared the path, every strike calculated and controlled. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. Slowly, the tide of rogue machines began to falter. Circa and her warriors pressed them back while Ethan stabilized the relay tower. With a final blast of energy, the main conduit hummed steadily, the tower glowing brightly. Circa turned to him. "You risked your life to save the tower. Why?" Ethan's hands trembled, but he smiled weakly. "Because giving up never fixes anything. Someone had to do it." She studied him, her glowing eyes reflecting pride. Among the Velrath, courage is measured not by victory alone, but by standing when others would flee. You understand that now. The remaining rogue machines retreated into the desert, driven back by the combined force of Velrath and human ingenuity. Silence fell over the dunes, broken only by the wind and the hum of the repaired tower. Circa approached Ethan, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "You have passed today's trial, human. Not through armor, not through weapons, but through action, courage, and resolve. That is the meaning of the trial of truth." Ethan exhaled, exhausted but elated. For the first time, he realized something extraordinary. Humans were small, fragile, and often underestimated, but courage, quick thinking, and a willingness to act could rival the strongest armor in the galaxy. That night, as the storm subsided and the stars emerged again, Ethan and Circa stood at the top of the tower. The desert below sparkled in the moonlight, and the repaired tower pulsed faintly with energy. "You have learned much," Circa said quietly. "Not just about our ways, but about yourself." Ethan nodded. "I think I'm beginning to understand. Humor, courage, honor, they're all connected." Circa's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "Then perhaps your kind is stronger than we believed." For the first time, humanity wasn't merely a visitor among the stars. It was a partner, and together, they had faced fire, wind, and machines that had lain dormant for centuries. The trial of truth was far from over, but one thing was clear. Humans could rise to challenges the Velrath had never imagined. The desert of Velrath 9 lay quiet after the storm. Golden sand stretched to the horizon, and the twin suns cast long, warm shadows. Ethan Cole stood beside Commander Circa Varen, gazing at the relay tower they had repaired together. The human's hands were still blackened from burns, his uniform torn, but his eyes shone with determination. The battle had left its mark. Machines lay scattered across the dunes, defeated. Sparks of energy still drifted from the repaired tower, illuminating the sand like tiny stars. For the Velrath, this was more than a victory. It was a testament to courage, collaboration, and honor. Circa removed her helmet fully, letting the breeze brush against her face. "Today I saw something unexpected," she said. "A human who faced danger without armor, without skill in combat, yet stood unwavering. You have earned the respect of my warriors and my own." Ethan hesitated. "I didn't do it for respect, I just couldn't let the tower fail." "That is the point," Circa replied. "Actions speak louder than words. Armor can protect your body, but it cannot shield you from truth. You showed your truth today." He looked at her, seeing the silver armor now folded neatly beside her. The commander was unarmored, not from weakness, but as a symbol of trust. To stand without armor was to be open, vulnerable yet strong. Ethan realized then that humor, courage, and honor weren't separate. They were threads of the same fabric. He had joked carelessly, triggered a ritual unknowingly, and now found himself standing in the heart of an alien culture he barely understood. And yet, through action, he had proven the value of humanity. Circa studied the horizon. "Among my people, only those we trust may see us without armor. Today I have chosen to show you." Ethan swallowed, feeling the weight of her words. "Then, I'm honored," he said simply. She nodded. "The Velrath record this day as the trial of the laughing human. Not because of your words, but because of your courage, quick thinking, and integrity. Remember it. Humans are small, yet your spirit is vast." He smiled, a little tired, a little humbled. "I'll remember, Commander, and I'll do my best to live up to it." The two of them returned to the Velrath camp, walking side by side. The other warriors bowed in respect, not for the humans, but for the bond that had been forged through courage and understanding. Ethan realized that being human wasn't just about survival. It was about creativity, resilience, and the will to act when the moment demanded it. That evening, as the sun set and the sky turned from gold to violet, Ethan looked back at the horizon. Somewhere out there, the galaxy waited, full of challenges, mysteries, and allies yet to be found. Humanity might be small, fragile, and underestimated, but they had something that no armor, weapon, or technology could replicate: courage and the will to rise. Circa's voice broke his thoughts. "Tomorrow you will return to your ship. But remember this, courage without trust is incomplete. Trust without courage is empty. You have both," Ethan nodded. "I'll carry that with me always." And as they watched the twin suns disappear beneath the sands of Velrath 9, he felt something shift not just within himself, but within the story of humans among the stars. Today, humor had sparked understanding, courage had proven worth, and trust had united two worlds. The stars stretched endlessly above them. But for the first time, Ethan understood one simple truth: humanity could shine anywhere, even among alien warriors, storms, and machines long thought lost. It wasn't just survival. It was the proof that humans could rise, inspire, and transform the universe through heart, courage, and action. And that proof had been written in sand, fire, and steel that day on Velrath 9.